Jessie. Ugh. She got what was coming to her. She got what was coming to her, Jessie. Hi wonderful people, and welcome back to my channel, Book Craze with Giselle. How are you going? What's up? What's the scene? Like, I have been reading some really awesome books. Yes, I have been reading some really great books, and I'm like, you know what? Let me share some with you. So these books were recent releases. I have been doing at least one video per month with books that were recently released. So I'm like, you know what? I need to share with you books that were released within the last 2 to 3 weeks. So some were released within the last week of August and the first week in September. So yes, so if you want to see some good books that were recently released, some of these books were 5 stars, 4 stars. I have some interracial romance, mafia romance. What do you call this one? With famous people, with musicians. I have a MM romance. This is the first time I'm talking about a book, a MM book on my channel. It was also my first time reading one. So yes, reverse harem as well as in this mix. Also have a young adults. Yes, I have like a mixture of books that were recently released. Honestly, I loved all. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed all of these books. They were fun to read. Some of them I was really excited for, like really excited to read. I have been following series, and so like the second, third, fourth books within the series were released, so I had to read them. If you're interested in reading books that were recently released, books that I probably mentioned in a previous TBR, if you're just looking for a nice, sweet, or exciting or dark book, definitely keep watching my video. On my channel, I share my addiction with you, my passion with you, my obsession with you, because you know, I just love reading romance books. If you like reading romance books like me and you're passionate about it and you're looking for your next read, definitely keep watching my video. So let's get started. So this is the third book that I'm going to be talking about on my channel, written by Michelle Hurd. Yo, I read Cruel Saints, loved. Ruthless Saints, absolutely love. And I swear to God, it just keeps getting better. Tears of Betrayal. I love this book. This was another 5-star book. Like, y'all check out the reviews. This book, Tears of Betrayal. So in the previous book, we met. We don't even need to know who we met in the last book. It's who is in this book. And in this book is delectable. It is exhilarating. It is captivating. Yo, this book is, in my opinion, phenomenal. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, it's like a mafia, organized crime, romantic suspense book, but it is not as dark, which makes it twice as good, because some persons love those thrilling, suspenseful book, but they don't like when it's too dark or when the violence is just too graphic. You don't get it in this book, and I think this is what makes it really good or really great, because it is well balanced. Listen, when you start this book, you dare not put it down. You dare not say, oh, I'll come back to that. You dare not say, okay, let me go cook a meal so that I can sit down and eat. No. You read this from beginning to end. You devour it. Like, you get absorbed into this book from the first page. Listen, when I started to read this book, I was sucked in. And the story was one where I felt all warm and I was giggling and I had a smirk on my face, because it's just like really sweet, but it's also spicy, and it's also like a slow build between Ariana and Dimitri. It just gave me all the feelings that I needed in a good book. In this book, we meet Ariana first. So Ariana has a mother with Alzheimer's. Her mother don't remember her, but her mother remembers her father. And she just had like this really short encounter with Ariana's dad, and then that was it. But she fell in love with this man. However, he was married. He's also the head of the Russian mafia in Russia. So that's Ariana. And then you have Dimitri. Dimitri is a boss. Dimitri, he's not a boss, but he is a boss in the sense that he protects the most elite assassin in the world, right? I'm saying it is so good. So what would that make Dimitri? That would make Dimitri the best protector in the world. As an assassin, you would get contracts, or you would get, you'll be able to bid for contracts or whatnot. So Alexei's brother, who we met in Cruel Scenes, got an alert to kill Ariana, but Ariana is not innocent. So he alerts Alexei, and Alexei's like, you know what, Dimitri, go and, just investigate her, try to protect her and whatnot. We need to keep her safe, while Alexei would investigate. So Dimitri kidnaps Ariana, takes her to his safe house, and Ariana just cannot understand or comprehend why this is being done to her. And he explains it or whatnot, but still, it so happens that Ariana's stepbrother put out a hit on her, and her father was dying, and then her father changed his will last minute, leaving everything to Ariana. So obviously she would become the head. Listen, this book was so exciting. The twists, like I wasn't expecting the twist that it had. I wasn't expecting things to unfold the way that they did. Like, honestly, I could not predict how the story would go, because Ariana also had the option of marrying Dimitri and Alexei as her protectors. So, but she's like, I don't need protecting. Like, once you eliminate the threats, then all is fine. Like, I just want to live my life. Like, I don't need to be running any type of organization. She became a billionaire overnight, and it's not something that she wanted. Y'all, tears of betrayal, the burn is there. The chemistry is there. Like, you feel it. It's electrifying. Like, you sense what is growing. You feel what is growing and what is developing between Alexei and Ariana. And it's like, you just want more. Like, you really feel like, I was like, listen, I was giddy. I was giddy with excitement. I was just giddy, and I just loved how the story flowed. The plot was excellent. I loved Ariana and Dimitri. There's nothing that I would change about these characters. Oh my god, I keep going on about this book. I absolutely loved it. You just get this slow development of enemies to lovers, and the captor falling for the captive, and vice versa. But there's nothing psychological with it. It's emotional, it is physical, it is just scrumptious, y'all. Ariana, she grew up like, she's very normal, sticks to herself, she does TikToks, she's into like cosmetology, very, average type of person. And then for some reason you get roped into the mafia and this whole dark world. Listen, like, you don't expect that. So I absolutely loved it. She was sassy, she was punky, she wasn't one to just sit down and cry. She tried to escape. Like, she didn't try to fight with Dimitri because she knew that was just like a losing battle. But honestly, love this story. This book is juicy and you need to read it. Love it, love it. And I can't wait to read Alexei's story, because the bigger they are, the harder they fall. This next book here, I also gave this book 5 stars. This book was just very enchanting. It was, to me, very brilliant. the flow, the pace, the characters. I loved them, and it had me in my feelings. It is a rockstar romance, and it is called Enthrall. It is book 1 in the Retribute series. In Enthrall, we meet Maya and we meet Cole. Now, Cole is a rock star. He had addiction issues. His brother died because of his addiction issues. And yeah, he's just like really famous. And then you meet Maya. Now, Maya, the book starts off with Maya, right? So Maya, she owns a flower shop. Her grandmother left her a flower shop, and you know, she's just all about this. Her life is about this, and she has this boyfriend of 7 years. This guy has been her boyfriend for 7 years, and he don't want to put a ring on it. But Maya don't like confrontation, so she will just like give in. But he has been neglecting her. He doesn't show interest in her, but yet she's still with this guy. So she meets Cole, and they really start up this friendship. Now everything is innocent. There's no cheating or anything like that. And then slowly, Maya's boyfriend stops coming home. And initially, I thought it was because he had another woman and that he was cheating on Maya. But it's not that. I won't tell you what it is. But just know that eventually she breaks up with him because she can't take it anymore, and she starts having a relationship with Cole. Now, it's not where she jumps from one relationship to another. It's just that, you know, they were friends. Things just, you know, escalated, and then they ended up in a relationship. But you also had the band's personal assistant, Jessie. She got what was coming to her. Jessie. And yeah, so she tries to break them up and tells lies and all of these things. Honestly, this story, it was really sweet. And you know, sometimes you just need a really sweet story in your life. And oh my gosh. So Maya's friend, she's a social worker with kids, and you know, something happens with one of the kids, and you know, they have this big heart. Maya has this big heart, and she adopts this child and they form a family. Oh my gosh, this story, yo, it is so sweet, and it's not what I expect in a rockstar romance. It totally blew me away. Yes, this is the 3rd book that I have read by J. Akridge, and like, yeah, she's getting there. Like, she is like, all of her books, they're just so sweet, and the heroines, they do remarkable things that I have never read in any other romance book that I have. The chemistry between Maya and Cole, the build-up of tension between them, because it's like, I like you, but I can't really do anything. I can't act upon it, you know? Yes, I just came out of a relationship, but I need to get to know you. And Cole is just like, there's just something about you. Like, they were just perfect for each other. So if you're looking for a nice, sweet story that will just have you feeling good, have you feeling awesome, that will just make your day, definitely give this one a try. Enthrall. I cannot wait to read In Armor. Yep. So this book, Broken Bride, I read the blurb, I was really interested. I'm like, I need to read this book. So when it was released, I'm like, yeah, but although yeah, I didn't wait until it was released because I did receive an advanced reader's copy. So I read that, and the ending, I'm like, I need to get book 2. I need to get part 2 because that ending, it was so good. So in Broken Bride by Stella Gray, this is book 1 in the Broken series. We meet Dante and Frankie. And Frankie, she was studying in Italy. Her family like owns a winery, and she returns from her studies in Italy only to discover that her father sold her to pay off his debts. He has gambling issues. Yes, Frankie also has 2 sisters. The older one was already married, and her father gave her an ultimatum, like, if you don't marry Dante, then your sister, your younger sister, who practically I think is in high school or just graduating high school, is going to marry Dante. And Dante is the head of his family crime organization. His father just died, so he's taking over, and obviously he's in need of a wife. But what I don't understand was why he chose Frankie to be his wife. Like, why her in particular? That is one issue that I had that wasn't clear to me. But anyhow, so Frankie, she's like ready to go. She's like, okay, let's see if I can make this work. Like, she realized that she just had no choice and there was no point in fighting it, because she can use that money and her husband influence now and try to build back her family's winery or like merge them. So she's very like business oriented, but that does not happen. Like, her focus was basically on the auntie's winery and just like trying to become involved. And then you had his assistant, his personal assistant. She was always like pushing up herself on Dante, and like he wasn't like putting boundaries. Although he said he was, you know, Frankie would walk in and see him in like compromising situations. So yes, there was that. The tension, I didn't really get that build of tension between Frankie and Dante, nor did I feel the chemistry between them. And I think maybe it's from like maybe Dante's personality, because Dante is very like detached, like emotionally detached. So you didn't really like get that. And I think that is what, like, maybe because of that I didn't really feel like the tension between the couple. But yeah, but then you get the ending. Should I tell you? Should I? I don't know if I should tell you, but just know that although the chemistry wasn't there, I think in book 2 is when we're gonna get more from Dante, because it was just like Dante had like maybe 3 chapters. So I think in book 2 we're gonna get more from him, and he's gonna show his feelings more. And I think the chemistry is going to be built, because hint there's going to be competition. I really enjoyed Frankie and her sisters. Frankie, like, you know, given the situation, she just didn't give up. Dante's tough, and she was able to deal with him and handle him. And yeah, I just look forward to reading more about Dante and Frankie in Broken Vows, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, definitely want to read that. So last month, early August, I read Promise Maker by Simone West. So then I didn't realize that the story had a part 2, that it was a duet, and she released Promise Keeper. And I'm like, okay, let me see what is going on with Solori and Domenico. And let me tell you, Solori did a 180, because please watch my video where I talk about book 1. But Solori, she was totally new to this type of organized crime. So yes, this is a romantic suspense, organized crime, mafia type of book. It's also an interracial romance. And Solori, her dad was murdered, and her dad told her to reach out to a close family friend, which she did. However, her father hid the fact that he was involved with criminals. So then she enters this world of kill or be killed. And you know, again, watch the video with Promise Maker. So in Promise Keeper, 3 months after their wedding, and you see where Solori has adapted to her new lifestyle, where she's able to emotionally and mentally deal with persons chasing her with guns, being kidnapped. This story, it is filled with suspense and drama and mystery, and you're like, who was doing it? Who? What? Why did this person want to kill Domenico and kill Solori? Like, why? The mystery that surrounded what was happening kept me reading. Like, I really wanted to know who was doing what, and just seeing how Solori evolved and the fact that Domenico would do anything to protect her. It's action-packed and danger-filled. I'm like, yes, this is what I look for in a book, and this book definitely had it. And let me just say, it had sensual scenes from beginning to end. So if you don't like that, then okay, I'm warning you. But like from beginning to end, like again, this is like newlyweds, so they were getting it on often. That was the only thing for me. Like it just had too much of, But besides that, I really enjoyed this story. Like this was 4 stars. Like really enjoyed this one. I read my first LGBT romance book. Honestly, I didn't know I was gonna read it, but I read book 1 and I read book 2 and book 3 was coming out, so I really wanted to read book 3. So I read Saints by Sierra Simone, and it is book 3 in the Priest series. So if you actually read Priest, then you know what I'm talking about. If you have not, checked out my review. So in Saints, we have Elijah and we have Aiden. Aiden is a monk. See? This book is a forbidden best friend romance. Let me just say, we begin in there. And then we meet Aiden. Aiden is a monk. He has been a monk for close to 5 years. However, during this time, he was struggling. He was struggling because he was still in love with his boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, Elijah. And that was a big struggle for him in terms of wanting God to be his only focus and just, wanting just to purely and solely love God. And he was conflicted with that because he was like, okay, but I love Hayden. How am I supposed to do that? And then Hayden shows up after all these years to let Aiden know that he is going to get married, that he's engaged. And Aiden is brokenhearted and he becomes even more conflicted. And Aiden, he wears a cage so that he can control himself because again, he is still struggling with this. And he has so much guilt and shame and confusion that he's dealing with. He is also trying to cope with his depression and anxiety on top of all of that, and remaining celibate becomes a challenge because when Elijah returns and he sees Aiden, he comes back like a few days after with this project to spend like a week there interviewing the monks. And then he comes back and with a special project where he would be going on like a road trip with Aiden. And the temptation is real because they both still have feelings for each other. And you have this monk, he wears his full, monk wear. And it is like, woo, Aiden, like, what are you doing? Let me just say, like, this book, it is steamy, but the story is mostly told from Aiden's perspective. There are 1 or 2 chapters with Elijah, but it's like him just writing his story, writing his paper, because he works for a magazine. When you get like his inner thoughts, it's like through like a magazine article, but you still get to understand Elijah and what he's going through and his feelings. And then you get all of that with Aiden. Like, this story, it is just so good. It is unlike Lessons in Sin. Yeah, because that was kind of religious too, and we did have a priest that did break his vow. But this one is with a monk, and the story is just written in such a way where you really see how conflicted Aiden is in what he wants in terms of wanting to serve God and being faithful to God, and how he deals with his feeling. The angsty, it is there. The pace of the book, it is good. The multifaceted issues that Aiden is dealing with, the fact that Aiden left a life of being a socialite, being a multi-millionaire, being like the life of the party, to living life as a monk. It's like 2 different spheres. and he left that because of his mental health illness and issues that he was dealing with that he never disclosed to Elijah. So throughout this book and throughout their journey, you really see where these things come out and see how they are dealt with. I gave this book 4 stars. Yeah. All right. So now, I did say I did read a young adults, right? 1. 2, I have been following this series and reading these books, reading each book as they have been released. And I spoke about this series, the Hellfire Club series. There's a whole video talking about the different books within this series and how much I have been enjoying it and how I cannot wait for the other books to be released. So Ruined Sinner by Becca Gray was released in August, and I enjoyed that book, and I can't wait for the next book to be released with the next couple. But Phineas and Aurora, I love them, and I was surprised the way how the other books were going. Again, check out that video. I expected this one to be, flowing the same way, but no, Miss Gray switched it up on us with Ruined Sinner. So Aurora, she is a princess, and because of something that her dad did, her dad embarrassed the family and they lost a lot of their wealth, and they owe these wealthy people money because of the investments that they made with her father. And now it's coming back to bite them, in the sense that a particular person wants Aurora, and her grandmother and mother, are suggesting that, just marry this person because, we don't have the funds to pay them back. Otherwise, it's going to be in court and it's going to be, last 4 years because, we don't have the money and the backing to fight this battle. And in comes Phineas. He overhears the conversation and he's still willing to help her. However, she's hesitant about it because of their history. So now in this book, we really get to find out what happened between Aurora and Phineas. I think it was in their sophomore year that they had like this encounter, and right after that, it's like Phineas just did what Phineas does. However, when things get exposed about Phineas, Phineas is known as the womanizer. He is known as the sinner because he's always with a female doing something. But when he disclosed that he's a virgin to Aurora, she's like, what? No, you can't be, no. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I really care for you, and I was hoping that I would get my second chance, and now that I have my second chance. And they embark on this fake relationship. This book was really nice. I wasn't expecting the way that the story went with Phineas or with Aurora. I wasn't expecting Aurora to do the things that she did, and for Phineas to reveal what he was doing. Y'all, this was a really phenomenal read. Loved it, every minute of it. Aurora and Phineas, yes, they were good together, but Phineas has a heart. You would think he was the worst amongst the guys, but he was actually the best. He was actually the best. This guy really did care for Aurora, and you saw it. Another book that I read that was recently released, which is a story that I have been following, is Sacred, and it is book 3 in the Savage Fall Sinner series, and it is a reverse harem, and we continue to get more from Sadie Ray, Reth, West, and Dane O'Stray. Again, in this book, they all hook up. It's not a surprise. They have been doing this since the beginning. However, this is where Stray, or Dane, finds out his history because he was having nightmares. He did show up at the Savage compound, not knowing where he's from, not knowing his name, not knowing anything. He discovers who is his abuser and takes them out. And the bond between Sadie, West, Rhett, and Dane, their relationship is most definitely strengthened. It is tested, and let me just say, I wasn't expecting the cliffhanger. So this book, it ends in a cliffhanger because we need to read Served. I think it served this book 4 in the series, and that one should be coming out soon. Because how the series is going, I'm going to admit that I don't think I will be continuing with this series. Like, things took a twist with West and Dean, and I don't know how comfortable I feel about reading that. Like, I understand that it's a reverse harem, but I just thought it would be them and Sadie, and you know, things start to happen between Dean and West, and I'm like, so where is this going? Also, I was a bit disappointed with the war, because like there was in book 2, members of their MCs were murdered by the other MC, and like nothing happened. Like, there was no war, there was, you know, nothing besides when they found them and they killed whoever they needed to kill. Like, that was it. There was no build up to that. So like the action, the danger, it just wasn't there. And for an MC romance, it was really lacking that. The focus of the book is really on Western, Dean and Reth and Sadie and their relationship. And I think for me, their relationship, it isn't enough for me to continue reading this 5-part series. So I did enjoy it, but I am a bit tired of Sadie and her boys. Like, I already get the gist of it, and yes, there was an epic ending where they were all arrested, but yeah, it's not enough. Like, to me, like the plot just keeps falling flat, and there's no excitement to keep me. So for this book, it's more like, before it was like a 4, but now it's more like a 3. And yeah, so I am not going to continue reading this series, unfortunately. I don't know if anyone is going to hate me or whatnot, I don't know, but that's just how I feel about this book. This brings me to the end of my video of books that I recently read and books that were recently released. I enjoyed reading all of these books, but you know, Sacred was a bit disappointing, so that was definitely a miss for me, although I've been following the series. So if you have read any of these books, let me know your thoughts. If you are going to read any of them, let me know. I am most interested because I want to know your feedback. I want to know if you felt the same way that I did about these books. So yeah, so if you enjoyed this video, just make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you have not, and make sure and hit that notification bell so you definitely know when I post a video, so you would know, hey, tune in, because we have excitement to watch, we have books to watch. And if you'd like to share my videos, please do so. Yeah, make sure and follow me on my social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as well as follow me on Goodreads, so you know what I'm reading, when I'm reading, what is on my TBR, what I'm currently reading, what I've read, my reviews. You would know all that. So yeah, so make sure and follow me on my social media and look out until I post another video.